What happens when some of the toughest fighters on the planet fall victim to their own darkest desires? In the world of the UFC, it's not just fists flying, but also those gritty, raw emotions that boil over when you're on top of your game. And sometimes at the bottom of your moral compass, greed, lust, and pride, oh yeah, they're in the cage too. And you'd be surprised at who's playing the puppet to their sins. Buckle up, because we're about to get down and dirty. Starting with greed, because if greed were a currency, Conor McGregor would be sitting on a throne made of gold bricks and spilled whiskey. Sure, he's earned his place in UFC history books, but his career pivoted harder than a drunk driver when he saw the Mayweather fight. That wasn't about pride, that wasn't about legacy, that was about fattening his bank account like a Christmas ham. $100 million payday later, and suddenly Conor was more interested in flaunting yachts and Louis Vuitton suits than throwing that left hand. But when he returned to the octagon, it wasn't the same McGregor. First, he took on Khabib Nurmagomedov in 2018, a fight where his lust for fame and money couldn't save him from a brutal fourth round submission. Then, in 2021, McGregor faced Dustin Poirier. This was supposed to be the redemption fight, but Poirier shattered those dreams by knocking him out in the second round. In the rematch later that year, Conor's return was cut short, literally, when he broke his leg. It's like the universe was telling him, greed might buy you a yacht, but it won't buy you a win. Next, we've got lust. And no one wears lust quite like Johnny Bones Jones. Not just lust for women, but lust for glory, lust for substances, and lust for chaos throughout his whole life. Inside the octagon, he's practically unbeatable. But outside, man, this guy's rap sheet is longer than a CVS receipt. Let's dig deeper into one of Jon Jones' most famous incidents that embodies lust. His hit and run in 2015. Jones crashed his car into another vehicle, injuring a pregnant woman, and then fled the scene. But what makes this story truly wild, he returned to the car not to check on the woman, but to grab the cash and flee again. This incident led to his suspension, stripped titles, and legal charges. It's a perfect example of how Jones' lust for chaos and reckless living cost him dearly both inside and outside the octagon. For a guy who should have been hailed as the greatest UFC fighter of all time, Jones' lust for nose candy and wet panties left him in handcuffs, more than he was strapped with UFC belts. Pride is next, and if you want to talk about a fighter who's got too high on their own height, look no further than Ronda Rousey. She wasn't just confident, she was cocky as hell. And to be fair, with the way she was steamrolling opponents, who wouldn't be? But pride's a slippery slope, and Ronda found that out the hard way. Remember Holly Holm? Yeah, the one who dropped her with a head kick that could have sent her back to middle school? Ronda didn't just lose a fight that night. She lost her whole freaking identity. And when Amanda Nunes came along and finished what Holm started, Ronda didn't even stick around to fix it. She took her pride, tucked her tail between her legs, and ran off to the WWE. Pride took her to the top, but it also slammed her back down, hard. Now let's double back to greed, because if Conor's stacking cash like a wannabe kingpin, Dana White's playing the role of the mastermind behind the whole thing. Fighter pay? More like fighter scraps. Dana's out here making it rain while the fighters are stuck praying for a drizzle. Dana's out here running a multi-billion-dollar empire while his fighters are lucky to leave with a $50,000 bonus after leaving the octagon looking like they went 12 rounds with a lawnmower. John Fitch once said UFC contracts felt like an indentured servitude. Meanwhile, Dana's cruising in his yacht, probably sipping champagne mixed with the tears of underpaid fighters. Let's be real, Dana's private jet doesn't run on fuel. It runs on the crushed dreams of fighters who thought they'd see a pay rise before they need a hip replacement. At this point, the only thing thinner than a UFC's fighter's paycheck is Dana's hairline. Finally, let's finish with rap. And boy, does Khabib Nurmagomedov deliver. When McGregor ran his mouth in the lead up to UFC 229, calling Khabib everything under the sun, we all knew this wasn't going to end with a handshake and a congratulatory pat on the back. Nope, Khabib's wrath was ready to blow harder than an incel's blue balls. And when he finally submitted McGregor, that wasn't enough. Khabib launched himself into the audience like a rabid animal, fist swinging at McGregor's entourage. This wasn't just a win, it was an exorcism of rage. Khabib didn't just beat McGregor in the cage, he wanted to beat him in life. Wrath, pure and simple, delivered what kind of cold vengeance that even security couldn't contain.